What's going on YouTube? In today's video, I'm going to be doing a review of this BMW 330, aka the G20, so stick around guys. Before I get started, I just want to say really quickly, if you guys aren't already, hit that subscribe button. Many more videos to come, so definitely stick around. Anyways, let's get into it. Alright guys, so here's the car. This is a 2020 or I think 2021 BMW 330. As you can tell, it is not the M Sport. It is a 330 like I said, so that means it has the turbocharged 4-cylinder. It's not the B58 like the M340s. So if you guys know my channel or you guys saw my previous video, I have a BMW 435. So I actually sent that car in for maintenance and I got this as a loaner, so I figured I'd make a quick review. This isn't going to be too detailed, just a couple thoughts of mine, cool things about the car, and a couple comparisons against the 4 Series. Figured I'd just make this for you guys while I have this car. So yeah, first I'm going to start off with the exterior, I'll go into the interior, and I'll actually talk about like the driving aspects of it. So let's get to it. So the first cool thing about these cars from the exterior is actually the grille. If you guys can see here, these grills, they look pretty good honestly. Like they are bigger than the previous generation, the previous F generation, but they're not like the M3 grills. Like they look good on this car. Obviously the M Sport, I think comes with black grills, so that would look better. I'd personally black them out. I don't like the chrome per se, but they do look okay. Something else about them, if you guys notice over here, they're actually closed. So they are literally closed. The reason why they do that is actually for aerodynamics, so air kind of just flows better. But the grills will open up later when the car needs to. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Otherwise, the front end is pretty basic. I mean, this isn't the M Sport package, so the bumper is okay. I mean, again, I would personally go for the M Sport, specifically the M340, but it is an okay looking car. The paint color is actually pretty nice. It's like this dark navy blue, but in the sun it actually looks really good. Right now it is getting dark, so it looks pretty dark, but in the sun it does kind of shine and it turns a little lighter, so it does look pretty cool. Something else that's actually pretty nice on these cars is the rims. Again, this isn't the M package, but these rims are actually pretty nice. I don't know if this comes with all 330s, but I believe they're actually 18s, which isn't too bad, and they look pretty good in my opinion. So 18s on 225s for a base 330 is actually pretty good. It also has paint match mirror caps, which looks pretty good. Over here it does have some like chrome. It's actually not chrome, it looks like brushed aluminum. Like it's not as shiny as the grille actually. But yeah, I personally prefer them being blacked out, but this actually doesn't look too bad, especially on the blue. Again, this is not an M Sport, so it is more of like a luxury car honestly. So yeah, it looks pretty good. Towards the back, obviously same rims. Again, they look really good. No trunk lip spoiler. I'm sure you can probably add one, but right now it looks pretty okay. The taillights honestly look really good in my opinion. They sort of have like this multi-level design, like as you guys can see here, the red part kind of pops out, which looks pretty cool, like as opposed to the rest of the taillight. It kind of gives it more depth and more character in my opinion. So this specific one is XDrive, and again, it is a 330. So down below, it does have a little bit of like a diffuser. It's obviously not an actual diffuser, but it does kind of give you something there. So if you guys can see that, it is black as opposed to being like the paint color. It looks okay, like you can barely notice it. Otherwise, something that's interesting with these cars is, so obviously, again, this is a 330, but if you guys notice, the exhaust tips are on both separate sides. So before, you'd have to get like a 335 to have them on both sides. If you got like a 328 or a 330 on the F generation, they'd both be on the left side. So that's actually pretty interesting that they did that. It does look good on this car, but it does kind of make it harder to distinguish between a 330 and a 340. Obviously this one doesn't have the M Sport package, so it's easy, but let's say you have a 330 with an M Sport package, M340 with an M Sport package, and you debadge it, probably can't tell the difference from the rear. But like before, you can easily tell the difference between like a 328 and a 335, because 328 would have the two exhaust tips over here, 335 would have them on both sides. But yeah, just interesting how BMW changed it. I guess they just want to give people with the 330 like, you know, more of a sporty look. So this car honestly does look really good. I will say it does look pretty soft. It looks more sleek, I will say, than the F generation. But it feels more of like a luxury car. It has like softer curves. It doesn't feel as aggressive. Again, obviously I know this isn't the M Sport. The M Sport I'm sure looks a lot better, but I'm just judging it based on this car right here. Anyways, let's jump into the interior and check that out. guys, so here's the interior of the car, and honestly I think this is where the G series or G generation, whatever you want to call it, kind of shines. This interior is much nicer than the F generation. I do love the F generation interior and I think it does look really good, but this one just takes it to the next level. Obviously it's a newer car, obviously you'd expect that from BMW, but it does look good in my opinion. So a couple things to note here that I actually personally like. One, the digital cluster. Obviously you can get that in the F generation, mine specifically doesn't, but this car does have it. Also this screen over here, so it's pretty cool that it kind of lines up. So if you guys can tell, like the clusters over here, and then the head unit is sort of like on the same level. Whereas before in the F generation, you'd have the cluster over there, and then the head unit would actually be like, it kind of feels like its own separate thing. Whereas this kind of feels like it's not connected, but it feels like it's more connected. So as you guys can see here, it is definitely two pieces. I don't know if you can see that really well, but it's definitely two pieces, but it does feel like it's more connected. Something else that's interesting about this car is on the F generation, obviously you have the start button like somewhere around here, over here, that actually doesn't even have space for it. This car, it's down over here. So it took me a little bit to get used to this. Every time I tried to start the car, I would actually reach over here. So I'm sure this is not a big deal. Like, it does look cool, and once you're used to it, I'm sure you're used to it. And then getting into the F generation where it's over there would feel weird. Anyways, let's just fire this car up really quickly. So it does not sound particularly good. I mean, it is the 4-cylinder. I'm sure the M340 sound much better. But yeah, this car, it's pretty quiet when you turn it on, and it is pretty quiet while you're driving down the road as well. Yeah, again, here's a better look at the digital cluster over here, the head unit over here. Something that is cool, since they did bring this down for closer over here rather than it being up here, is this is touchscreen. So if you guys notice, if I just press on like anything here, it is touchscreen, which is pretty cool. We're just gonna click on random things over here, but so having it closer actually makes the touchscreen a lot easier to operate. I know the F generation does have, like at least some of the newer F generations does have the newer iDrive system with the touchscreen, but again, it is a little higher. I'm sure it's still usable, but I'd imagine this is just easier since it is closer. So something that's I don't know, it's pretty cool. Other than that, the whole like dash layout over here feels shorter and like just closer to you. It's also more angled to the driver, whereas the F generation, at least in my 435, it's more like flat. This, if you guys can tell, it's definitely more angled to the driver, if you guys can see that. Another cool thing is over here, they actually have like an integrated wireless phone charger, so you can literally just like lay your phone over here, and the space is pretty big. Like my iPhone 11 Pro Max fits over here, so I'm sure pretty much like any phone would fit in here, so that's pretty cool. Obviously cup holders over here, pretty standard, but in a pretty good spot. And then it is nice that you can close this, so like say you have like junk in here, you can just like hide it away. And it does have this one does have like this like piano black wooden trim, which looks really good. I would personally prefer aluminum if they have it, but this one does look really good. Over here, like I mentioned before, this is where the start button is now. Same or at least similar dial system, which works really well. Obviously, again, you have like a touchscreen, so you can use both. Something else that I think BMW definitely did better in this this generation of cars versus the F generation is the ambient lighting. So if you guys can see here, you have some ambient lighting like built in. It doesn't feel as much as like an afterthought. It feels more like a part of a car, if you guys can see that over here. And then over here, there is also some on this door over here, and then over here, and I believe, I'm sure at least, some in the back over here. Yep, there it is. So not just that, but you guys actually have more color options for ambient lighting. So like you have blue and all that type of stuff, so if you guys can see that. Whereas like in the F generation, all you have is like the white and the orange, which is fine, but this one's actually pretty cool. So you have like blue, orange, lilac, basically purple, and yeah, like bronze, which looks very similar to orange. But yeah, you have a lot more options for ambient lighting, which is cool. I personally love ambient lighting. I think it looks so cool, right? I mean, right now it's not dark, so you can't really see it too well, but at night, like, ambient lighting looks so cool. So that's actually something that I wish the F generation did better. The F generation does have ambient lighting, and I did try to improve my ambient lighting if you guys saw one of my previous videos, but it's just not the same. This feels like it was more integrated into the car. It doesn't feel as much as like an afterthought. But yeah, I guess that's just the direction that new cars are going in, so totally understandable that BMW did it as well. Something else that's pretty cool, it's actually funny because it's sort of like, it's not new, but if you guys are used to BMWs, if you click down like the turn signal, which if you have a BMW you probably don't, lol. So if you click it down, it'll actually like not stay, so it'll click but then it'll go back to its spot. Unlike most cars, now they changed it that if you do click it, it stays, and if you want to stop it, you click it back into its spot, whereas like an F generation, you click it and then it goes down. So it's kind of weird, and then to turn it off you have to like click it and then it goes up again. Like, it's weird, but this one is more of like a conventional car. So if you click it up, it goes right and it stays there, like it doesn't bounce back. And then if you want to turn it off, press it down. It's interesting because it's not like a new thing, it's just basically BMW going back to the more traditional way with some things. So but it is nice that they went back to this, because this honestly just works better. Again, I think this is something that the newer F generations have, but mine definitely doesn't. So while over here, something else I want to talk about is the steering wheel. The steering wheel is okay. Again, this isn't an M Sport, so this is not the better steering wheel, but this one, it's okay. It's pretty big, it's pretty skinny. I have seen the M Sport ones and they look so much better, but anyways, this one looks okay. If you just want like a luxury, comfortable car, like this one is good. You know, like it's big, it's skinny, it's easy to grip, I guess, but it just doesn't feel sporty. I don't know, but it's fine. Again, I'm trying to take this car for what it is. Obviously, I know it's just a base 330. So I'm trying not to bash it too much for things like this, but it's just like a part of me. I don't know, I'm sure you guys understand, but anyways, it's nice for what it is. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah guys, other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Again, I think this is like the pleather. This isn't actual real leather, but this is just specific for this car. This one's very base. The back seat is pretty spacious in this car. I did sit back there and it does fit me pretty comfortably. I'm like 6'2", like 210 pounds, so I'm not a small guy, but it does fit me pretty comfortably. Even the front seat, like I feel really good. The cabin itself feels really good, from like the digital cluster over there to the head unit to like this kind of pointing towards you. It's like this whole like waterfall-ish type of thing. This whole setup is pretty clean and easy to use. Otherwise, from like a driving perspective, I'm not going to go into too much detail because obviously this is a much softer car than I'm used to, but it does feel really smooth. For a 4-cylinder, it is a little punchy. There's a sport mode. There's no sport plus obviously, but sport mode, it does, you know, feel a little more responsive. The steering wheel is really light, but in sport it does stiffen up. Something that is cool that I probably forgot to mention is like in this car, you can put it into eco mode, but you can do eco individual. So what I did, even though I'm only driving it for like a short period of time, I put into eco mode, but I changed the steering to sport. So the steering feels a little more heavy, which I actually really like. I couldn't do that in my 435. When I do drive these cars and I'm driving them to work and stuff like that, I see no point in driving them in sport mode on the highway. Like, I'm just trying to save gas. When I do want to have fun with these cars, I put into sport mode. But for the most part, I drive them eco, try to save gas so I can, you know, obviously spend more money on like parts and mods and stuff like that. So yeah, it is pretty cool that you can save gas and then also have like that sporty steering, which is actually pretty awesome in this car. I actually wish my 435 could do that, because whenever I put my 435 into eco mode, the steering wheel is always like super light. Which I mean, it's fine. Like, I've gotten used to it when I'm just like driving to work and stuff, but it's just not as good as sport mode steering. All right guys, that pretty much wraps up the video. Again, this wasn't too much of a detailed review, just sort of like a casual guy reviewing a car. If you guys liked that video, if you found it entertaining, drop me a like, drop me a comment. What do you guys think about the G20s? And lastly, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.